Welcome back to The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Farrier. Over 150 people in the last week or two affected by gastroenteritis in Grenada. The Ministry of Health says it's found the cause. It's because of the sapovirus, salmonella, and E. coli. I'm being joined now by the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sean Charles, to talk to me about just how all of these bacteria got in the public domain and caused this this outbreak of gastro in the country, because they're calling it an outbreak, and what people should look out for and what people should do to deal with the problem. Welcome to the program, Dr. Charles.
Thank you, and good morning to your viewing and listening audience. I'm happy to be here to provide some information to enlighten everyone about the situation that is occurring as it relates to gastroenteritis in Grenada.
Well, did this happen because we had that water problem, because we were in the midst of a drought back in May, and I think that the numbers, you began seeing increased numbers around that time as well. Is there any relationship to the E. coli and salmonella and sapovirus affecting people and the issue we had with the water a few weeks ago?
All right, so let me first say that, at the Ministry of Health, we were very concerned with the drought situation that the country was experiencing over the past weeks, because we know that when there is not sufficient water to provide for the needs of people, and that's to provide for the needs for drinking and cooking, but also for maintaining adequate sanitation, this presented an opportunity for issues just like this. This presented an opportunity for outbreaks of gastrointestinal diseases, primarily those caused by infectious agents. Now, I must say that this outbreak, and we are experiencing an outbreak of acute gastroenteritis at present. Now, this outbreak is not only happening in Grenada. There are a few other regional countries that are experiencing similar challenges. Many factors can contribute to this. One of it, which is we are all tourism-dependent countries, and we have a high rate of travel, people entering, people leaving, and the germs that cause acute gastroenteritis also travel with these individuals. And when any of these organisms enter a setting where the opportunity is there for them to spread, like we had with the drought that we were experiencing, then it was the conditions were just right for us to start experiencing an outbreak. And as you correctly observed, we started observing cases progressively increasing over the past 12 weeks. And only recently, over the past 3 weeks, we have noticed that cases are accelerating. We are seeing many more cases. Last week, we had quite a number of cases, and this week we have seen a further increase, and we are up to now 260 cases. When the EPI report is released this week, you will see that the cases continue to rise.
And, so you said other islands are also showing symptoms of gastrointestinal problems, and seeming to be having an outbreak as well. What has caused? I know that CARFA has said that the sapovirus, salmonella, and E. coli are what's causing this here in Grenada. Is it also what's causing that problem in the region, and is there some sort of common factor that has caused the situation?
Right. So I know that similar organisms were identified in other states. We sent samples to CARFA for testing, and so far we have identified sapovirus, which belongs to a similar family to norovirus, which is a common cause of gastroenteritis outbreaks. So we've identified sapovirus, but we have also identified salmonella and E. coli. Now, salmonella and E. coli, I mean, these are organisms that are always around. They circulate in different species. For example, you can get salmonella from undercooked poultry products. So food preparation is a factor because these organisms live in nature. It is when they are introduced into the food chain or into water supply, or persons become contaminated with them by one route or the other. This is where they can cause illness.
And so what should people be doing now? I know NAWASA has announced, the National Water and Sewage Authority has announced that, thank goodness, the water woes are over and they've gone back to normal distribution capacity. So there's water to wash your hands and keep things clean now. But what should people be doing in the midst of this outbreak? I mean, the 27% increase I'm seeing here, 155 cases in your last weekly report. How do we keep this at bay?
Right. So this is the key. This is the key element that we wish the public. One, we wish persons to be aware that we are in the midst of a gastroenteritis outbreak. That means that the organisms that are causing infection, they are in circulation and they can be picked up anywhere. So the first thing is awareness. Secondly, hygiene. Persons must pay attention to personal hygiene, especially before eating. Ensure that hands are washed with soap and water and washed properly, right? Before eating, after using the restroom, after using the toilet, after changing, diapers for children, after cleaning surfaces, all right, ensure that hands are washed and washed thoroughly. We need persons to pay attention to this. We need persons to also pay attention to how they store water and pay attention to water quality in general, all right? If the water quality is poor, for example, if water is turbid, if water appears physically dirty, whatever contaminants entered the water to cause its quality to be less than ideal, the germs could have entered using those same routes. So if there's a water main break in your area, you should be boiling your water. All right. If your water appears, if you have any concerns about the water based on its appearance or otherwise, you should ensure that you boil that water before it's consumed. Ensure that utensils are clean before they are used, and use clean water to wash your utensils. And ensure that wherever they are stored, that vectors do not have access to them, such as flies and rodents and otherwise, because vectors carry germs with them. All right. Ensure that when food is prepared, it is prepared in an hygienic environment. And if you are purchasing food, look at the environment in which you are purchasing the food. If there are rodents about, if the conditions just look unsanitary to you, change your mind. You may not wish to obtain food from that place. But there are other things that persons can do if they are sick as well. Because if you're sick, I mean, the advice is you should at least stay away from school or stay away from work at least up to 24 hours after the diarrhea and vomiting subsides. This is to avoid passing the disease on to others. And we know that at homes, there may be one or two family members who may be sick. So we want in the home that caution is exercised. And if, let's say, it's a parent who is not feeling well and has no choice, but they're the only one to prepare meals and so on, they have to exercise additional precaution to not, when they're preparing the meals, to not infect others.
And
Right?
hand washing, just like we became a part of our lives, even more so than it was before during COVID. Hand washing is just such a powerful preventative measure, isn't it?
It is. It is. It is a very, and in fact, the majority of persons who are probably becoming infected, they do so through their hands, either by touching the food that they are consuming, all right, with hands that were not washed, or simply they may have the habit of bringing their fingers to their mouth to scratch or remove something between the teeth, or something of the sort. We contaminate ourselves by bringing the germs into our mouth, and in most instances we do so using our hands.
Just Dr. Charles, people who do not go, what are you advising? People who do not go to the hospital or the medical station if they come down with gastro, what can they do at home? Is it okay for you to give some advice here on just how to take care of yourself in those instances? Or are you just saying, go to the doctor?
All right, so, and this is also most important as well. So the majority of persons who become ill with acute gastroenteritis, they will have a very, a short course of illness. So the illness will subside maybe between 2-3 days, a few others maybe, up to a week. But it is rare for the disease to last, for an extended period of time. Now, most individuals can safely and successfully treat acute gastroenteritis at home. All right. The key is to replace the fluids and so on that are being lost. All right. The fluids that are being lost can lead to dehydration, and they can lead to the loss of other substances that we call electrolytes, that are essential elements that help the body to function. So most people can treat gastroenteritis by increasing the consumption of water, but water alone is not sufficient. All right. We advise that they also obtain oral rehydration salts. It comes in a little packet, so it contains different salts that we call electrolytes, with a small amount of glucose in it. All right, and these are essential to be replaced along with the fluids that are being consumed. So in most instances, gastroenteritis can be treated at home. Now, there are instances where a person is so ill, the symptoms are prolonged, they're severe, the individual is becoming dehydrated, especially with children. All right. In those severe instances, then the individuals are advised to seek medical attention. And in these individuals, they are treated with intravenous fluids when they get to the hospitals. All right. Now, for these individuals, I mean, there are signs that indicate that, listen, it is more severe. All right. If an individual has vomiting and diarrhea and is unable, and it's so severe that they are unable to retain any fluids, especially if it's a child, they are unable to tolerate any fluids, and the individual is becoming very weak. The child may be very weak or irritable. All right. These are warning signs. All right, and these are signs that they should seek medical attention. If no urine, the individual is passing no urine or very, very little urine. All right, much less than what is usual. There are no tears when the individual is irritated and cries. These are signs of the disease is more severe, and we encourage them to seek immediate medical attention.
Because generally gastroenteritis it's not a life-threatening disease unless it goes south and gets worse and goes untreated. and causes other complications, yes?
That is correct. In most instances, the disease can be safely treated, all right, at home. And it does not have to be a life-threatening. It can be life-threatening, all right, especially in very young children, the elderly, and persons who have weakened immune systems. However, if managed properly at home, it does not have to be a serious illness. And one word on the management of the disease at home. Even if an individual is vomiting, let's say someone has vomiting and diarrhea, even if they're vomiting, the oral route is recommended as the best route to start, providing providing rehydration. What you do is, after the individual has vomited, you may wait 5 to 10 minutes and you offer small amounts of fluid, frequent sips of oral rehydration salts, even if the individual is vomiting. So you give small amounts very frequently. So over time, that individual will be making up for the fluids that they are losing. And usually, once the fluid that is lost is replenished, the individual feels much better.
Dr. Charles, thank you so much for joining me on The Narrative, and I hope that you and your team at the Ministry of Health can beat this acute gastroenteritis outbreak under control. Thanks for joining me on The Narrative once again, sir.
All right, thank you, and thank you for helping to get the word out there.
All right, our pleasure. This is The Narrative. I'm your storyteller, Callistra Farrier, speaking there with Dr. Sean Charles. He's the Chief Medical Officer in Grenada, where there's a acute gastroenteritis outbreak right now, and asking people to focus a lot on hygiene, wash your hands to avoid the transmission of the disease from person to person. 155 cases in the last week under review by Grenada's Ministry of Health, a 27% increase in the number of cases. And a report from CARFA, samples were sent, and a report coming back from CARFA saying that the sapovirus, salmonella, and E. coli were the causes for this current outbreak in Grenada. And Dr. Charles telling us that other islands in the Caribbean also facing acute gastrointestinal problems as well. More when we come back.